Hi, this is Brian Clawson with Capitalize Analytics, and I'm here today to talk to you about how to use Alteryx with Adaptive Workday Planning. If you're not familiar with Adaptive Workday Planning, it's an enterprise planning software used to automate and streamline planning, budgeting, forecasting, aligning headcounts. It can be used for creation of sales and operational plans as well. It's one of the many applications that Capitalize helps our clients to implement and use along with Alteryx. The Adaptive Workday Planning API is a bit complex and may not be approachable for everyone. To give you an example, the API has a single endpoint, and in order to use that, you need to compile an XML document that's going to contain instructions for whichever method that you're looking to use, along with any parameters that are particular to that method. And as you can see here, there are many methods available that you have to understand and be able to utilize. To show you an example of how I approach creating these XML documents, I'm sharing on the screen now how I'm creating the credentials and filters associated with the XML that's required for most of the methods, and then a sample of what it looks like to parse the data that's coming back out from the XML document that's returned from the API. After working through any challenges associated with parsing the input and output associated with the API, it's important to build out a user interface that allows your end user the opportunity to pass through any configuration items that are needed for the API. In this case, I've divided up the user interface into 3 tabs. The first tab is going to collect basic information like the URL that you're connecting to. The second tab is going to house the majority of the information, including the credentials that you're using to connect to the system. And it also gives you a tree view to explore and select which version or versions of the plan that you're looking to pull. On the third tab, you have the ability to select between which mode you want to execute. If you want to extract data, or you also have the ability to update the reference data that's utilized within the macro itself. So this ensures that the versions, instances, and locales associated with your particular installation of Adaptive are going to be displayed in the dropdowns and in the menus of the user configuration, and it's not going to be static information from the original build. Earlier, I mentioned the ability to specify a file that's going to contain filter information to restrict the data that you're returning from Adaptive. This is a view into what the accounts and layers look like in those filter files to ensure that only this information is returned through the API. As you can see, now that I've run the Adaptive Workday connector, all my data is returned into Alteryx, where I have the ability to further manipulate it or work with it using the robust functionality within Alteryx. Workday Adaptive Planning is just one of many applications that work well with Alteryx. Please reach out to Capitalize Analytics, and we can talk through what applications you may use and how additional connectors can be built out for your needs.